Alright, I guess this will be one of those like throwback kind of videos. We're going to be looking at two different braced blade fan blades. This one came out of this 202 from like 2003, I believe. And as you can see, it's kind of your typical blade with the 5 wings and the blade hub. And it has a date of 03 in there. I mean, this isn't really a bad quality blade. It's still pretty solid. The later versions of the braced blade were definitely a lot more cheaper. Then there's this one, which came out of this fan with the handle on the top, and it's actually a little bit harder plastic, has a lot more cooling fins compared to that one. And both of these blades are actually more solid than an Aero Speed blade. But I did find this interesting. They got 10 fins to cool the motor on this one, but only 5 on this one. And this one has a beefier motor in it. It's got a bigger stator to it than this one has, which has the 10 cooling fins for the blade, as opposed to the 5 like that one has. Maybe I might do a blade swap. I'm just curious to see if there's a difference. Hold that thought. Okay, so out of curiosity, I put the blade from this fan onto this fan, and the blade from this fan onto this fan. They look the same, but there is some differences. This is a harder plastic blade with 10 cooling fins on the blade, and it doesn't really have much flex to it, as opposed to this one, which seems a little bit more flexible. This one only has the 5 cooling fins, but there's a difference in the motors. This one has a thinner stator, as opposed to this one, which has a thicker motor stator. Basically, I wanted to see how this would perform with the fatter motor stator. So here's high. Stand up. Yeah, it ain't bad. That's medium. Hardly any change to it. And low. Yeah, there's like little change to this at all. So perhaps the lighter blade was actually meant for this. Interesting. I guess the other theory is to see what this one does. Alright, I guess the beauty of this is they both use the boombox cords, so you don't really have to unplug the fan. But we're going to try the Lakewood 202 blade from that fan on the Lakewood 200. Just said this one has 5 cooling fins, so let's see what it does. Interestingly enough, this is less powerful than this blade on that fan and that blade on this fan. I don't know how that works. Yeah, there's an odd difference. I figured the heavier blade on the thicker motor stator would actually perform better, but it really doesn't. I mean, it goes fast. That's about it. But this blade on the thinner motor stator runs slower. Weird. So I guess in a way, Lakewood engineered these blades to the spec of the motors, which is interesting to think about. I never really thought about that, but so this blade actually performs better on that fan, and that blade performs better on this fan. They both have the same amount of blade pitch. For the most part, it looks like. Actually, this one looks like it has more than this one has. This one actually has less because there's more room on this hub than there is on this hub. Intriguing. So I'm thinking this one might be a little bit newer. Or the blade, the fan, this fan, might be newer than this one. Interesting. So just to reiterate, this is the stock blade for this fan, back on the fan, and the 202 has its stock blade back on it. So that's how that one's supposed to perform. We'll unplug this. And plug this one back in. And this is how this one's supposed to perform. It actually moves a lot of air. Kinda gonna hold it up though. So this one works more off of the blade pitch, and this one works more off speed. I never thought there'd be a whole difference between the two fans, but here we are. So with that, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this freaking chaos of a video.